Right. It's exactly 12 o'clock. So, being respectful of Ms. Erickson's time, we're going to go ahead and get started today. Let people log in while we're doing some early introductions. Let me welcome you all to our monthly webinar. Today, we are going to be talking to EPA, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, learning all about how to do business, what the small business goals are, and all kinds of fun stuff that Ms. Erickson is going to share with us. My name is Reena Bhatia. I am your moderator and host for today. This webinar is being hosted by the Asian American Chamber of Commerce, and Proposal Helper is sponsoring this event, and therefore I'm here. I'm also a board member of the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. I highly encourage you all to join the chamber if you're not a member. Before we dive into our webinar and I bring on Ms. Erickson, I do want to provide a disclaimer. This webinar is informational purposes only. Nothing that we're sharing should be constituted as legal advice or legal opinions. Please do not share this material without our written permission. If you have your own blogs, your own webinar, or YouTube channels that you'd like to reshare, please drop us a note and ask us for permission. We generally don't mind that, but let us know where you're sharing it before you do that. And again, we have our board members who have all participated in bringing these webinars together. Join us so you can have networking opportunities as well. With that, I'm going to bring on Ms. Jennifer Erickson. She is with a small business office at the United States Environmental Protection Agency, Region 7. I will have Ms. Erickson introduce herself because I'm not going to do justice to your background. So if you can please come on, and in the meantime, I'll bring on your slides.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be with you today. My name is Jennifer Erickson, and I am the Small Business Utilization Specialist with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Region 7. I've been with the agency since June of 1998, and it was in September of 2019 that I joined the Acquisition Management branch. My role not only supports the EPA Region 7's office, which serves Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, and Nebraska, but also supports EPA Region 10, which serves Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. I have a list of topics that I'd like to share with you today. I'd like to briefly touch on my role as a small business utilization specialist, discuss big picture EPA spend and regional spend, achievements and small business goals, briefly speak to EPA Category Management, which includes policy and requirements for use of common contract solutions, the EPA Active Contracts Listing, briefly speak to background checks and clearances, the EPA Acquisition Forecast Database, and the last topic is to shed some light on upcoming opportunities. Okay, slide 2, please.
So if you all stay till the end, then you'll hear something nice.
So beginning with my role as a small business utilization specialist, I provide a liaison relationship between the acquisition team and industry, the SBA, and other federal agencies. I assist and educate small businesses on opportunities to do businesses with EPA, advise small businesses regarding current acquisition contracts available, encourage the use of small business concerns as subcontractors, and promote opportunities for small businesses to participate in EPA acquisitions and meet agency goals. Slide 3. So the EPA big picture perspective. What do we spend our money on? So on a EPA big picture spend, the top common spend categories are facilities and construction, professional services, IT, research and development. In regards to facilities and construction, we're not building buildings or facilities necessarily. This is speaking more to facilities support services and remediation services. Slide 4. Regional spend. The main types of services EPA Region 7 and Region 10 purchase are similar. Remediation services, general warehousing and storage, temporary help services, and facilities support services. Next slide, please. Achievements and small business goals. So to ensure that each agency provides the maximum practicable prime and subcontracting opportunities for small businesses, the SBA, the Small Business Act, requires the Small Business Administration to negotiate small business contract goals with each federal agency. So the SBA is responsible for ensuring that the government-wide goal for participation of small businesses is established annually, and EPA's achievements are relative to the goals. I would like to say, very excited to say that regarding Region 7 specifically, it seems that Region 7 trends indicate that our progress in fulfilling its small business goals has significantly been due to the successful awarding of set-asides, specifically set-aside Superfund site-specific contracts. As I mentioned previously, this would be for one of the main types of services we purchase, which is remediation services. And since FY 2017, EPA Region 7 has either exceeded 4 out of the 5 agency small business goals or achieved 5 out of the 5 agency small business goals. In FY 2020, EPA Region 7 was the only regional office that achieved the overall small business goal in all the 4 statutory goals for small disadvantaged business, women-owned small business, hub zone, also known as historically underutilized business, and service disabled veteran-owned business. To keep us on track and meeting our small business goals during the fiscal year, a valuable resource and best practice that Region 7 created and utilizes is a small business outlook spreadsheet. And that's how we monitor and track our progression in meeting the goals. Additionally, we document and track potential set-aside designations and projections for future fiscal years. Slide 6. Okay, so for the next upcoming sections, although I don't work for EPA's Category Management Branch and headquarters, I will touch on this topic and EPA's initiatives. Should there be any questions I'm unable to address, I will try to get those answered for you. So about category management. Category management is a strategic business practice that the federal government is implementing to buy smarter and more like a single enterprise, like one big customer instead of separate customers, like one for EPA and then USDA would be another one, and so on. The goals of government-wide category management are to deliver more savings and value and efficiency, eliminate unnecessary contract redundancies, and meet the government's small business goals. Slide 7. Spend under management, they also call this SUM, measures the percentage of organizational spend actively managed via category management principles, where agencies buy the same kinds of goods and services through best value solutions. SUM is just really us managing our spend better across the federal government. Slide 8. Looking at the big picture for federal-wide category management, SUM at the federal level is more effectively managed, more transparent, and trackable. And regarding SUM, there are categories under SUM that are called tiers. You have Tier 3, best in class, and that's the best of the best. Tier 2, contracts shared among agencies, and then Tier 1, agency-wide contracts. Next slide, please. So let's look at these tiers a little more. So best-in-class solutions, also known as BIC, is designated by the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, as a preferred government-wide solution that assists in optimization of federal spend. There are a lot of strict criteria on what it takes to be best in class. For example, we're getting all the data we need. The pricing is determined to be getting us savings. The terms and conditions that we comply under are the best interest of the government. So it's examples, like that. Tier 2, the contracts shared among agency. These are also known as multi-agency contract solutions. This is when we can place one contract and many different agencies can use it. Tier 1, those are the agency-wide contracts. These are some of our strategic sources or contracts that are out there that anyone in any office in EPA could use and place an order under these contracts. Slide 10. Okay. So EPA's existing contracts or solutions. So EPA does have a site that contracting offices check for existing contracts or solutions that may meet their contracting needs. These are the mandatory common contract solutions, EPA Solution Finder, and the EPA Active Contracts Listing site. Now, some background on the EPA Solution Finder. Using existing contracts instead of placing new ones is always preferable, and more important than ever, given the decline in EPA's staff and funding. So EPA has collaborated with GSA's Acquisition Gateway Solution Finder for this purpose. And in this tool, EPA's contracting offices can search many of our internal solutions and also government-wide solutions already available. So we can avoid having to place a new contract, save time, and save effort. Basically, it's an online tool to identify available federal and EPA-specific contracts. The EPA Active Contracts Listing site, I'll get into more a little later, but this site is open to the public. And in fact, I just recently assisted a contractor with using this resource tool. Regarding the mandatory common contract solutions, these solutions include both EPA and government-wide designated solutions, and are in addition to those listed in the Federal Acquisition Regulation, the FAR. Under 8.002, priorities for use of mandatory government sources, and 8.003, use of other mandatory sources. Common contract solutions must have the highest priority for use once the EPA employee verifies that the mandatory sources in the FAR of 8.002 and 8.003 can't satisfy the requirement. If a common contract solution is not found, the EPA ordering official must then check the solutions finder, which was previously mentioned. The EPA ordering official must select the common contract solution that offers the greatest benefit to the agency, including consideration of the agency's small business goal. That is, preference should be given to a small business if the other requirements are met. Slide 11. So required by policy guidance, EPA has mandatory EPA-specific solutions, and they're listed here. Microsoft software, Adobe software, print management services. Next slide. And there are also the mandatory government-wide solutions. So you have office supplies. So EPA's strategic sourcing solution for office supplies is GSA's Federal Strategic Sourcing Initiative. Regarding domestic delivery services, only standard ground deliveries authorized for domestic delivery services unless an extenuating circumstance exists. And then we have those big solutions, which include GSA's schedule, comprised of 20 plus broad categories of products and services. For more information, visit that best-in-class resource page on the GSA Acquisition Gateway. And before we move on to the next topic, I would just like to mention that balancing small business utilization with category management goals is a very specific challenge. In headquarters, EPA's category management branch takes into account, small business goals, and several of their initiatives have small businesses involved. The idea behind strategic sourcing is not to pull all the requirements together and go big business and consolidate everything. It's really just looking at the need, cost savings, etc., and how can we fill it. And if it is/was a small business before, is there a way we can continue that? Slide 13. Okay, so EPA has a contracting with EPA website, and on this site, you can get information on doing business with EPA, including important elements of the contracting process and points of contact and information on the regulations and policies applicable to EPA acquisitions. Additionally, on this site is the EPA Active Contracts Listing, and this is a popular resource, and it gives the public and contractors a look at what the agency is buying and the EPA active contracts. The contracts listing allows users to search descriptions and award types and product service codes, the firm name, the socioeconomic status, and just other details available for contracts. And many small businesses will reach out to large businesses with specific contracts and services they provide for potential subcontracting opportunities. This resource, it is refreshed daily. The next topic I'm going to speak to, and I don't have a slide for it, so I do apologize, but I will speak to it, and it is the background checks and clearances, the contracting with EPA. Background checks and clearances are dependent on the type of work being conducted. Basically, it just boils down to the risk level. The appropriate background investigation is what they call the NACI, the National Agency Check and Inquiries. which is the required minimum investigation, with all coverage obtained through written inquiry, computer linkages, and a record search. Subject areas generally include a 5-year check of employment, education, and law enforcement, plus residence of 3 years, references, and a fingerprint check. Contractors or consultants are required to have a NACLC, and that's a national agency check with law and credit. Our IT contractors and our record center contractors would receive this type of check, and it will require a 10-year reinvestigation. Slide 14. Okay, so getting back to the contracting with EPA website, there is the EPA Acquisition Forecast Database, and the information in the database is based on the best information available at the time of posting, and it is intended for planning purposes and provides information on future contract opportunities over $250,000. The forecast includes anticipated acquisition planning for 3 years. And once on the site, under current opportunities, you can search by the end user, the procurement office, the NAICS code, the solicitation issue date, all that good stuff. And you can use the filters to drill down further should you need to do that. Slide 15. Okay, FY 2021 opportunities. What is anticipated to be awarded in FY 2021? Well, it's currently on our forecast database, and as we're in the fourth quarter, there are 2 opportunities anticipated to be awarded before the end of the fiscal year. One for Region 10 and one for Region 7. For Region 10, there is a Region 10 facility operations and maintenance of laboratory with an NAICS code 561210. The procurement method is competition restricted to service-disabled, veteran-owned small businesses. For Region 7, the anticipated opportunity is the Region 7 Hastings Groundwater Contamination OU12 with the NAICS code 562910. The procurement method is competition restricted to WSBs, so women-owned small businesses. The solicitation has been posted. Both of those have been posted, if I didn't say both. Our last slide, actually. Thank you, everyone. This concludes my presentation. My contact information is available on the slides. Feel free to contact me, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Ms. Erickson. Appreciate that quick overview on Region 7 and Region 10 of the EPA. There are a couple of questions that need clarification. If I can take a little more time and ask you to clarify, we'll start with the FY 2021 opportunities. Are these multiple award contracts, single awards, and do we have estimated contract values for these?
Okay, great questions. And I will have to, okay, so please know when solicitations are posted, and it's dependent on what the question is. I may not be able to answer because I am abiding by the solicitation requirements that all the questions must be submitted via FedConnect. So please, 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 please go to FedConnect to check out these solicitations, because when you go there, you must use the web portal. And please place the questions in the web portal and via FedConnect. And I do apologize that I have to temper my responses, but that's the way we have to do it.
So I have a curious question here on why does the EPA use Fed Connect and not just directly post on SAM? I have seen that other agencies do the same thing. Is there a reason why it's not directly on SAM? It is announced on SAM, but then it redirects to Fed Connect.
Yeah, thank you so much, because you will also find that you can see the postings. Thank you for bringing this up on the beta.sam.gov and the Fed Connect website. They are both. However, it is set up to responding, as far as I know, responding to solicitations specifically. If interested firms have questions, they must use the Message Center portal within Fed Connect.
Okay, so not emailing questions. Please go through Fed Connect. Is this EPA wide or is this Region 7 and Region 10?
These two specific opportunities?
No, I'm just talking in general. Does EPA agency-wide use Fed Connect, or is this specific to Region 7 and Region 10 that you post?
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Yes, EPA-wide.
Okay. All right. So if you want to do business with EPA, monitor Fed Connect, as even though announced on sam.gov.
Announced on both. Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would like to share something else now that we're talking about Fed Connect. Please also, you can, because I've had people reach out to me before about, now remember, EPA doesn't manage Fed Connect, but that doesn't mean I can't assist you in different kind of ways in regards to Fed Connect. But what I've been told is you can set yourself up for when, for instance, a posting changes. So if a posting originally was in the pre-solicitation phase and the status has changed to solicitation, I've been told that you can set yourself up so it will send you some kind of alerts or notifications or whatever that is to alert you when the status has changed, because everybody can appreciate the fact, oh gosh, I have to check Fed Connect today. Don't know what's going on. And I can, and everybody's busy, and maybe sometimes they just want a message sent to them. So I encourage you to go to the Fed Connect site, fedconnect.net. Look that up to see the process in doing that and getting set up, because they do have customer service representatives to assist.
Thank you for that. And I brought up this slide here on the small business accomplishments because I am really impressed. We've spoken to a lot of agencies, and I have never seen someone put up a slide or an agency tell us that they subcontracted or they contracted 85% to small business. That is impressive. So kudos to your office and your regions. This is amazing work. We like to see this even more, but 85% is already very impressive. Would you want to comment on how you're achieving these big numbers? And is it just a outreach to small business? How are you able to get such impressive results, whereas other regions and other agencies even are not able to?
Well, first of all, I have to always give kudos to my leadership. I have a great supervisor, number one. The contracting staff is fabulous. But we're always big market research, market research, market research. What is out there? We use, I don't know if you are familiar with the SBA has a small, it's called DSBS, Dynamic Small Business Search by SBA. And we utilize that tool a lot, always looking and filtering and all that good stuff, to find folks. Not only that, and once again, to keep us on track, what I mentioned was, to keep us on track and meeting our small business goals during the fiscal year, we created just in-house, just a regular old spreadsheet. It's just a regular old spreadsheet. Sometimes it's just down to the simple things in life you can use. We created a spreadsheet, and we call it our small business outlook. And it's an outlook because it's not just the current activities. We're outlooking, we're forecasting how are we going to do in future fiscal years as well. And we monitor and track our progression in meeting the goals. And I think I also mentioned earlier, we also try to document and track the potential set-aside designations and projections for future fiscal years. So like if we know at WOSB, we awarded a contract, we know the base year is going to be so much. And if there's these, option years, that it's going to have so much and have so much. So then we're projecting, this is what it's going to be 2021. FY 2022, this is what it's going to look like. So we're constantly tracking and monitoring, and that's how we stay on top of our game.
That is very, very impressive. Thank you for sharing that. I do want to ask you, connected to this, what would be your advice to small businesses when they reach out to your office? What should they come prepared with? What do you want to hear from them other than here's a generic capability statement? What are some of the things a small business should do to come prepared to work with your region or EPA at large?
Well, I was going to say, I want to make sure that they always remember, number one, that forecast, that database that I mentioned, the Acquisition Forecast Database, I'm the one who actually, I don't have the control to publish it, but I am the one who gets that set up for as far as what is going to be out there. I can't make decisions. I'm just the one who makes sure it gets out there. The information is posted out there. So always be aware of what's out there. Make sure you're always looking at, look at that active contracts, that EPA contracts listing, so you know exactly what it is we're buying, what is it we're looking for. I will say this, I do welcome all capability statements. I do welcome them, but just know EPA Region 7, if you're wanting to set up for, a chat or something like that, just please be aware that Region 7 really doesn't engage in those type of, demonstrations and presentations and that type of stuff. So I apologize for that. But and one other note, I want to make sure everyone is aware. I also do not keep some sort of list of, okay, here's my bidders list, or here's my, that I could refer to, something like that. I love to spread the love in my market research. So I'm telling you, that's why that DSBS is so important. And I do use that. So just so you know, I'm out there looking at it. So always make sure in the SAM, your certification is always up to date, that you're registered, make sure, for that DSBS, it really speaks to what you do. I know that if you specialize in something also, I'm not a program person, I'm not a project officer or anything like that. But if you do remediation, for example, do you specialize in that type of, I think it's called in situ thermal remediation or something like that? Go ahead and add that, because sometimes I'm plugging in keywords and I'm looking for something more that instead of just says we provide remediation services. So just so you know, I'm looking for certain things like that, and that might help you.
Yeah, very important to not just put in those niche services, but keep your profiles updated as your capabilities change. A lot of companies go in at the very beginning, they'll register one time and then they never go back to update their profiles. And so if you've added capabilities, that's a good reminder to all of us that we need to update our capabilities out there. Now, when you do find companies on DSPS, do you send out invitations to bid, or is there sole source directed awards? What do you do as a next step, and how do companies make themselves more visible to you?
Well, I will say once again, since I'm not a contracting officer, but I work in the contracting office, and EPA Region 7, they are very good about putting out requests for information and sources sought. So once again, always be utilizing FedConnect and Beta.SAM and all that stuff, because they're good about that. They want to know what's out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of small businesses feel that they don't need to respond to those sources sought, that it's a waste of their time, waste of resources. They rather focus on those proposals, the bids that are out there. But I am with you. I think sources sought are a good way to introduce your company specific to the needs of the agency, and highly encourage companies to respond to those, not just look at them and say, well, wait for the actual RFP to come out.
And this is the thing too. You're wanting to promote your business. You want to do more than just send out a capability statement. Well, then if you see something, request for information, then you better put yourself out there. Make yourself visible, because you are going to reach a wider range of folk than just the small business utilization specialist, because you're responding.
Yeah, good suggestion there. And I have, this is one of my last questions. I don't see any audience questions that are left over, but in terms of working with the EPA, if somebody wants to, is in, let's say, Washington, D.C., and they want to do work with Region 7 or Region 10, do they need to be locally registered companies in those regions, or that does not matter where the company is located and registered?
No, it doesn't matter where their company is located and registered.
Okay, so for those participants on this call that are not in Region 7 or Region 10 does not mean you cannot bid on at least those two opportunities that Ms. Erickson put out there. These are open to all businesses, so take a look at those.
And remember too, and I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and once again, but I need to, and thank you for pulling up that slide again, but I need to always refer you back to what does the solicitation say, So always make sure that you do that, because you don't want your proposal thrown out for something so silly. Always make sure that you completely read it when you send in your information, because once again, we like to spread the love. So make sure that you have it in order, when you do finally hit that submit button.
Absolutely. Well, Ms. Erickson, thank you so much for your time today. It was quick, but very informative. Thank you for joining and sharing your slide deck for our participants. Again, we will have a recording of this available to Asian American Chamber of Commerce members first. And then after a few days or a few weeks, it opens up to everyone who has participated. So we thank you all for spending your Friday afternoon with us and learning more about doing business with the EPA. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.